you can't lead someone to where you've never been.
Hmm.
And you can fake it all you want. You can get really good at saying the words that they need to hear to move forward, but it will never be able to replace a person who's actually walked the walk, who doesn't
Yeah.
need any words, who can lead someone through their experience and not through their words. If you don't like the way that you look in a mirror, if you don't like the way your hair looks in the mirror, do you try to fix the mirror? That's what most people do, is they try to fix the fucking mirror.
Interesting. Interesting.
They try, but this is true, man. Everybody is a mirror. So we try to fix the mirror,
Yeah.
not knowing that if we fix our hair, if we fix ourselves, then the way that we are reflected, it will change. You can do whatever, you can break that mirror if you want to. It's still not going to change
No.
what's really happening.
Mhm. This is episode 8 of the Remote Boys, and we have a rather special individual with another shiny background, just as we did in one of our previous episodes. But yeah, no, we have a wonderful guy named Cameron. Both Sam and I have known this guy for a while. I've been aware of you actually since the start of this year, actually, and
Same.
Wow.
yeah, it's I don't know, it's so interesting now just having us all here, like in a podcast kind of scenario. Just we're just hanging out. I actually think it's so cool seeing myself in a position like this, to be honest. But anyway, um, yeah, no, with what Cameron's his background here is, um, it's really showing how important it is to just show up as the right person, how important that is. And I actually just want to segue straight away into the masterclass, or the that live you'd shown right on Friday this week, um, about exactly that. And um, there was something that like happened afterward for me. I actually want to go straight into like a masterclass I saw at the start of November, between you, Christian, Jack, and Heidi. And
Yeah.
I saw that yesterday, and like I was like, so when I see something really good, I start pacing around around in my room and just like thinking, like I
Yeah.
don't know why, but that's just what I do. And
Yeah.
I stopped in my tracks when I like had something click, and it was like the way that you show up is like is so important, because depending on that, really the words they use are just a byproduct of the way that you're feeling when you're in any conversation. And
Yeah.
so that's when I realized that yeah, the word tracks are great, and following those are, it can kind of help, but those are really there for when you're showing up as the right person.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so that like
100%.
yeah, that really clicked with me, because like yeah, I don't know how else to say it, but like when that hit me, I realized how important it is to really focus on your life outside of the sales calls that happen.
Oh, yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, going straight into the Friday thing. Man, I really wanted to show up to that because, like Sam, gee, at least we have some of it recorded, but like it goes into like, especially that book, the what is it from Chase Hughes, the 6 minute or 6 second.
Uh,
X-ray?
this guy, the six
Yes,
minute X-ray.
yes, that thing. Right. You expand really well on and really emphasize the portion regarding like a way in which we can kind of identify ourselves, what like really
Yeah.
matters to us, what really is important to us. And that's one thing I really wanted to learn more about, because I feel like the more I can know and be aware of myself and what actually matters to me, the more I can make more decisive decisions on, what's going to actually be worth it for me. I don't know.
For sure.
I don't know if that can kind of make sense, but
It absolutely makes sense.
yeah. And so yeah, it was really eye opening, kind of figuring out a little bit. I'll explore it further, but like of the you can call them like kind of like identities with these masks, the ones that really
Yeah.
click and resonate with me most.
No.
Um, and yeah, it felt almost kind of liberating being able to attach myself to some of those things that you shared with
How
like.
so? Why liberating is a very interesting word choice. So what landed you on that? I'm very curious to hear.
Yeah, I I feel like for me, I'm somebody who what was it? With the it might have been the acceptance or the approval side of
Yeah.
things. It kind of clicked for me that that's how I see myself, or like that's just what I resonate with most. And I feel
Sure.
like being a part of that, it like it's kind of like I'm more of like, I see myself definitely more as a follower, and I realize that like kind of like following the herd more or less. If I'm in an environment where there's a lot of people that maybe you could say you're significant, right? Before,
Yeah.
maybe like I would see myself almost try to be like that, if that can kind
Yeah.
of make sense. And
Yeah.
I just kind of felt lost.
Mm.
Yeah, especially at the start of this year with like this, this getting into high ticket for reasons that weren't even mine. They were
Yeah.
somebody else's reasons for getting into it,
Yeah.
you know? And so I realized that that really overwhelmed me. And it led me to not even really doing as much as I could be because I didn't have a clear goal or intent for myself. So,
Interesting.
yeah, I hope that can kind of make sense a little bit. But
It does.
yeah, being able to just click and associate myself with that and understand that that's what matters to me, um, it really helps me be able to focus on and realize that I'm somebody who can easily follow the pack. And I got to be careful making sure that my goals are not somebody else's goals. And I got to
Yeah.
figure out what matters to me. And once I do, then I have reason enough to do what I need to get there.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the organ transplant metaphor?
Um, no. Okay, that's interesting. What is that?
There's a metaphor that aligns perfectly with what you just said, with where your goals don't feel like your own goals, and the reasons why you are pursuing something are not your own reasons. And this also goes with, we all carry beliefs that are not our own beliefs. They may be holding us back, or they may not be serving us, but they don't come from us. And so the metaphor, it's really silly, but all metaphors are. And I think the silliest ones are the best ones. But you think about an organ transplant. What happens is, we'll get an organ transplant, which means an organ from another body is being implanted into our own body. And at first, it functions just as it should, and everything is going great. But after a while, the human body is a very smart mechanism. And after a while, the human body will start to recognize that organ as being foreign and not belonging to the body. And so what the body will do is start attacking that organ, and the organ will begin to fail because the body is like, wait, no, you don't belong here. And so our beliefs are the same way. We carry these beliefs, we make decisions, we do things for reasons that may not be our own. And after a while, it may be a couple years, it may be decades into our adulthood, way later in life, we begin to understand and realize that these beliefs aren't serving us. And our body, our mind, our soul, our spirit is going to start sending us signals that maybe this isn't my path. Maybe this isn't the correct decision for me. And it allows us to view things from a different lens, from a different perspective. And then it gives us an opportunity to take different actions contrary to those beliefs that may not be as self-serving as we want them to be. So really terrible,
Mm.
silly analogy, but hopefully that made sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. Like, um, so yeah, I mean that's like the biggest thing I had to thank like your session for. Um, I always like exploring and learning a little bit more about like just what's clicking for me, what is making me do what I'm doing. So
Yeah,
like really what's coming behind that. And it kind of helps me reverse engineer a little bit. Um, again, like just what matters most to me. So,
for sure. Well,
mhm.
I'm really happy to hear that, man. It sounds like some pretty solid feedback, and I was happy to see you there. I was really happy to see you after a while. We had not seen each other in a while, so when you showed up on Friday, it made me happy.
Yeah, it has been a while. So,
I
but
think I
Awesome.
think one thing you gotta admit about Cameron is just that ability to grasp everyone's attention. And it's like listening to Cam, you sort of even feel hypnotized, if you know what I mean. And that's just something that I don't really see this often. Like I think maybe the other example is like, I'm sure you guys know Eli Wild,
Mm.
but like that sort of presence, which is super hard to transfer over, Zoom, transfer over the camera is just, yeah, it's just incredible. Like that's something I would be trying to replicate myself.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, man. And for me, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think it started like the origins of how I present myself on camera started in childhood because I grew up, my mom was always a very shy person. She was very reserved, very submissive. She always kept to herself. My dad was a lot, I get a lot of this from my dad. My dad was the entertainer. He was if we were in a social gathering, whether it was us hosting guests at our house or we're going over to someone else's house or a party or an event, within 5-10 minutes, he's always the center of attention. He's got everybody's attention. He's an incredible storyteller. I don't think I'll ever be able to reach my dad's level of storytelling. And he just has this ability to encapsulate the room in focus, interest, and curiosity. And they just hang on his every word. So I was exposed to that. And a lot of that was just kind of imprinted on me at a young age.
Mhm.
So I was always just kind of naturally like that as a kid and growing up. Another part of that was my almost decade in the food service industry. So I was a server, I was a bartender, and my income was dependent on my ability to speak with people and to
Yeah.
connect with people and to get people to open up and to get people interested in what I had to say because that was my income, that was my job. And then on top of that, I was also a sleight of hand magician. So I also learned how to ingratiate that into working as a server, working as a bartender, getting people entertained. I used to get
Yeah.
phone numbers back when I was single. I used to get people to connect with each other. And so this was kind of a tool to gather control over my environment in a healthy and positive way. And then you translate that over to high ticket sales and then learning from guys like Eli Wild, from Tony Robbins, from Bill Walsh, from Chase Hughes, from other giants in the industry. I learned how to take something that was like a natural gift and then sharpen it into a surgical tool that I
Mhm.
could use strategically instead of influencing people on accident. I could now do it on purpose. And
Yeah.
so that has been something that I'm continually sharpening every single day. So I think it's a combination of a lot of just a myriad of things kind of weaving themselves together into the fabric of who I am. That was
Yeah.
really, I came up with that on the spot and I got to write that down because that was pretty damn cool. But
That
yeah.
was pretty damn good. I think one thing you also maybe, I mean, you're probably aware of it, but I think for anyone that is listening, they should 100% watch how you just navigate yourself, like how fluid your body is and how you use your hand and gestures to even capture the attention even better. That's like literally I can't think of anyone else that does it as good as you.
And see, I appreciate that. And that's another thing that I've always used my hands to illustrate as I'm speaking.
Yeah.
And I never realized that I did it. It was always just something that I did. Like ever since I was a kid,
Mm.
I always did this. I was always doing something with my hands. Now, I'm learning that you can use this to punctuate certain things. So I'm learning a lot about hypnotic communication,
Mm.
subliminal communication. So if I want to illustrate something, for example, if I'm talking about something negative and I want to highlight something negative, I might do this with my hands to suggest that it has nothing to do with this interaction,
Yeah.
that person, that thing, that product, that service. If I want to associate a word with you, if I want to associate a certain quality with you, for example, if I say that something is amazing, I might point at you when I say amazing. If I
Mm.
want to associate something with me, I might very subtly, I might say, yeah, it's an opportunity that you should take advantage of. Something like that. If I want to suggest something between the two of us, like you ever have those times where you just have this perfect connection and you see what I'm doing? I'm going back and forth between you and me. And now subconsciously you're establishing perfect connection and you're
Yeah.
linking that with back and forth. So I learned how to take this stuff that I use on accident. And again, this is just an example of how I can do something on purpose.
Yeah.
Right. And so when you take action pointing at you on an opportunity that's right in front of you, a lot of amazing things can happen and good connections can come out of that. So hopefully you can go back, watch the recording and see what I did there.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's just
crazy.
another thing that I grew up with that I just learned how to hone over time.
Yeah.
Mm.
Damn. I'm mind blown. And I'm mind blown for the fact as well, because Sam said it perfectly. Back when we started in this space, everyone has heard, Bass Salt, everyone has, heard
Yeah.
about you as well as a side effect, because you're a sales manager for him. I remember Sam sharing Sam, you remember this when you shared a video, I think it was like a team call for the
Oh
closers that
yeah.
Cam was leading. And I asked him, hey bro, can you send that over to me? Even though I mean it wasn't illegal, but like, Sam, you remember like how you said, you can just join this link over here, and they will probably not know if you're the closer or
Yeah, no, it was when
Wait. What happened? What was this? When was this?
yeah, no, this was like back in maybe February or March.
Gosh,
It
no,
was
Sam, it must have been like January or February. Yeah.
So
no, no,
I
it
was still
was
with Bass then.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was definitely like February, March, because like or maybe it was beforehand, maybe, but I was on an offer that who the owner was a client of Bass's, and they were on your guys's like your sales coaching huddles that you had, or your coaching I guess meetings that you ran. Like there was a sales one that
Yeah.
happened once a week. I came
Yeah.
into one of those, and I think that was the one where you were teaching everybody like the think about it objection. So
Yeah.
yeah, yep. So it like really clicked, or like I don't think it completely clicked for me the first time hearing and seeing it, and it especially didn't after I ran it through like Sam and I's first coaching offer that we were a part of essentially. The way that they taught sales is very different, so they had
Yeah.
completely different expectations. So when I ran the method through, which I wasn't too certain on, of course it didn't click and like land for them. So they're like, why are you just do this instead, So
Yeah.
but that's kind of what I mean, like being aware of you back at the at the start of this year and us being here is it's crazy the progression that's kind of happened, so to speak, the time between.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I like what you mentioned, Cameron, with like your background, your experiences, like maybe they weren't ideal for that entire year. You were in the food industry, but it all kind of laid it and set itself up for where you are now. Like you take
Yeah.
something, there's always something from your past experiences that can be applied to something in the future. And that is like the person I think of most too with something like that, like just clicking, is like somebody like Bill Walsh as well.
Yeah.
Like his background heavily in the military and running and coaching others, in a gym format, in a fitness format for like nearly a decade. Like I'd imagine he's acquired a lot with having to
Oh yeah.
successfully lead people in that arena. And then suddenly he jumps into sales and suddenly skyrockets in performance. I don't think that that's obviously like that's not really a coincidence. He's taken a lot of life experience and it's shaped him into a man who can lead other people clearly. And that's all he really needed jumping into sales.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
then, thankfully he had a lot of people who could teach him how to, like you mentioned before, do that on purpose, how to kind
Yeah.
of hone things down and be much more effective with what he's already got. So
100%.
100%.
yeah, that's and I feel like, or he mentioned too, is like for him, he wished he started in sales, before everything. And I really would be interested in what would have came of that for him if he had done that before all that life experience.
Oh yeah. I can't speak for Bill because we all love and respect Bill. I mean,
Yeah.
Bill's Bill. I love Bill. I can speak for myself though, and I am. People debate me on this all the time, but I will always be stubborn on this.
Mm.
And this is just one of those things that's not. This is not one of those research backed things. This is not backed by science. This is just backed by experience and results. And, you know, if you gave me a choice, I would rather choose something that is results based over science based, because if I'm in a situation where I need a result, I'm going to go with the thing that's going to bring me a result and not the thing that is in theory backed by science. Anyway, I digress. I believe very firmly that sales, all influence, all persuasion is 95% who you are and 5% the techniques and the training and the
100%.
tactics that you use. Because I could take two guys, and you guys have probably heard me beat this analogy into the ground, but I could take two individuals with the same level of training, the same level of tactics, skill, everything is identical on the tactical side. One of them has social anxiety and low self-esteem, no confidence, no authority whatsoever. The other one is just a natural, charismatic individual who can make small talk with anyone, who can encapsulate anybody in a story, and who has social skills out the wazoo. Even with the same level of training, they use the same script, they have the same leads, same quality of leads, everything's identical. The person who has the social skills and the confidence and the authority will always beat the person with the tactics. And you could take that person with no confidence, no authority whatsoever. You can give them more training and more tactics than the other guy, and this guy will still mop the floor with that guy, because it's not the tactics you use, it is the person using the tactics. That's why Bill Clinton could whoop all of our asses in sales and influence, because of who he is. Now, this is not a political statement or whatever. I don't give a shit what your political beliefs are. But you take a guy like Bill Clinton, who could tell a story about dropping a jar of mayonnaise in a store, which is real, you look it up, and he could capture your focus and have you hanging on every single word with that story. And he has no idea how to explain what he's doing. That's just who he is. He could whoop your ass. The guy that has all the degrees, the PhD in psychology, he's read all the books, he's taken all the courses, he's done all the trainings, he knows everything, but he doesn't have the social abilities. Bill Clinton could kick that guy's ass. So I think with a guy like Bill Walsh, it's not a coincidence that we're talking about two different Bills here. You take a guy like Bill Walsh. I think 95% of the reason why Bill Walsh is so good, the reason why Bill Walsh is where he is because of that foundation that was built with his background in fitness, with his background in military training, that molded him into the character that was required to be where he is in the sales arena. Because without that foundation, he could have had all the same sales background, but that stuff would have been built on a foundation of sand and it would have collapsed. Yeah. He's got a foundation of iron and concrete, and he's holding up a really large structure because of it. So I think that is why all of the stuff that we go through, if we're just talking about sales, all of the stuff, all of our background, all of the stuff that we go through in our background, all of our previous experiences, they shape and pave the way for our performance in sales. My background as a magician, my background as a server and a bartender, my background growing up with my dad, all of that stuff contributed to my ability in sales. And if I didn't have that stuff, I would be a completely different person on a completely different path. So I think that stuff is more important than the training and the techniques, because anybody can learn that stuff, but you can't learn. It's really hard to learn charisma. It's really hard to learn how to be naturally charismatic and confident and authoritative, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I suppose also this is the same reason why some people just rise up to the stars in this industry within a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And some are just sticking 10, 20, 30 years without, achieving a portion of the success that these guys have in just a year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all because of who they are, and who you are is really hard to fake. You can't fake who you are without it leaking through, and it's impossible to do. We all have this thing called nonverbal leakage. It means the things that we do off camera, the things we do in private, will always shine through, even if it's unconsciously, and other people will pick up on it. And so that is why the things you do and the person you are off camera, behind the scenes, when no people are watching, is what people are going to feel. And that's what people are going to see when you show up on camera, no matter how you try to mask it. No matter how thick that mask is, they will always be able to tell what's underneath subconsciously, even if it's just a gut feeling, even if it's, you guys have been in those conversations, I'm sure, where the other person is saying all the right things, they're doing all the right things, everything is perfect, but there's just that one thing. I don't know about that. There's that little voice in your head that's like, something is not right. I don't know what it is, but there's just something that's not adding up here. I don't know what it is. It's just, there's just this one little thing. That's that part of your brain telling you that it's picking up on something. It's picking up on something about the person, about the environment, about something that is not quite lining up with how they're projecting themselves. So that's why this just goes back to integrity. Integrity is who you are off camera. Integrity and leadership, leading yourself when no one's looking and doing the right thing when no one's looking, will always show up and pluck the right strings in the other person, and it'll harmonize with them the right way.
I think it also goes this way, right? Like, when you truly stand for, like, let's say hard work, right? Like, you actually mean what you say, you keep your word, right? Like, I'm not gonna say like, you can go through the training, you can rehearse more, but you always are going to appear more prepared. Being more prepared, you jump on a call, you're not gonna be, thrown off, because sometimes like people just give you random shit. And the person that has prepared, the person that actually, is actually standing behind the hard work, by the time it comes to asking this, but the prospect that wants to change their life and talk to them more about what it's actually going to require, it's not going to be just words landing on deaf ears. If you say this is what it takes, this amount of work, like if you as a salesperson have never actually put in the work, it's just going to fall on deaf ears, right? Whereas if you really mean and you really have gone through so much hard work, like face challenges, all this stuff, it's just a different standpoint. Because then, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but people will pick up whether you've genuinely had to struggle or whether you're just saying this for the sake of saying, oh, like everyone on the internet is saying, yeah, it's getting to a certain amount of money is going to be hard, right? But then some people just get rich off of a cryptocurrency, and they keep saying that it was all hard work. Everyone's going to call bullshit on them. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, that just goes back to congruency. You can't lead someone to where you've never been. And you can fake it all you want. You can get really good at saying the words that they need to hear to move forward, but it will never be able to replace a person who's actually walked the walk, who doesn't need any words, who can lead someone through their experience and not through their words. So the person who uses words to lead people will always need words. And without a script, without words, they're nothing. They'll crumble. A person with experience, a person who's actually walked the walk, the words flow through them. They don't need the right thing to say. They don't need a script because they can just speak naturally from experience. The words, they're a conduit. They are just a medium from which the words flow through. And that will always be more powerful than someone who just puts together a few nice sounding sentences to lead someone.
What's the next question? What's the next question?
Yeah. What's the next? What do I say when the prospect says this? Like, no, if someone asks me that question, hey, what do I say when they say this? Like, you are not ready. Like you are not ready to be a Jedi yet. You haven't mastered the secret. I call it the secret is not needing the thing to say. You will always know what to say if you are the person who can lead them. So we're kind of getting into some like Yoda shit, but that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, I would say this is super important as well, because like even looking back at my kind of journey in the high ticket, like And we kind of touched on it like when we worked together. Like I genuinely performed so much better when I had no script. Back in April,
Yeah.
back in May, I had no script whatsoever. Every conversation was just tied to that individual. Can we help this person? And just have a natural conversation. The moment I started implementing like a framework script, and I'm not against frameworks, I'm very much against scripts.
Yeah.
Things started to just go very weird because it was just like it wasn't my questions. I was, the basic what is your rationale behind X, right? Like those aren't even my words. Like for someone to hear it from a Polish guy with a broken Northern English accent, it's just like what the fuck is he saying?
Yeah.
It's just not congruent, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
Hmm.
I guess my question on that is like, how do you, and I kind of already know the answer, but not everyone might have it. How do you
Yeah.
feel like for a person that wants to excel in sales, right? In
Yeah.
terms of some of the most common objections, I really like what you shared with me a couple of months ago, but I want you to kind of expand on that if you don't mind. Like you kind of shared like you need to internalize those objections. For example, think about it. For example, whether you have the money for starting a program, whether you're fearful or not, right? And it's like you cannot ask someone to invest 5 or 10 or $20,000 in themselves if you haven't invested that amount of money into yourself.
Yeah.
It's not going to be congruent. But like I'd love if you can share your perspective on that.
Yeah. If you let's think about it. If you are a person who, when you are being sold to and pitched to, if you are a person who says, I need to think about it, if you are a person who gives the think about it objection, not only will you receive that
Yeah,
objection a lot more because people are mirrors. I believe people are two things. They're windows and mirrors. So we will always get a reflection of who we are. So if you give, think about it, you will get it. But no, number two, and more importantly, if you are the type of person who gives the think about it objection, you will never be able to overcome it with any sort of congruence or alignment. The
yeah,
only way you will overcome that objection is with a specific script, and without that script, you're cooked. You're done. So the way to truly overcome all the objections is to overcome them in yourself first. If you don't like the way that you look in a mirror, if you don't like the way your hair looks in the mirror, do you try to fix the mirror? That's what most people do, is they try to fix the fucking mirror.
Interesting. Interesting.
They try, but this is true, man. Everybody is a mirror. So we try to fix the mirror,
yeah,
not knowing that if we fix our hair, if we fix ourselves, then the way that we are reflected, it will change. You can do whatever, you can break that mirror if you want to. It's still not going to change
no,
what's really happening.
Hmm.
It's not going to change anything about who you are. So until you change who you are, until you change and stop giving objections, until you solve the objections internally in yourself, fear, think about it, partner, time, legit, whatever the objection is, if you give those objections, if you have them, overcome them yourself, and then what you will see reflected in other people will start to change. And if you encounter somebody with an objection, you can easily guide them through it because you've already walked that walk.
yeah,
You've already crossed that finish line. You can help people over because you know the way, you know the obstacles, you've done it. I've dumped my bank account for coaching programs. I've been in scarcity mode. I've hurled myself over all those obstacles. So I can congruently walk people. I don't need a word track. Word tracks help, but I don't need a word track to help people through those things that I've already overcome. So
yeah,
if you want to, I don't know if this is the answer that you listeners want to hear, but this is the answer that a lot of you need. If you want to change something about someone else, start with yourself. There's this old quote, and I'm ripping it off from one of my mentors who ripped it off from his mentor. Whatever degree of control, like control in a good way, whatever degree of control you wish to have over others, you first need 3 times that control over yourself.
Mm.
So start within, and then everything, all the reflections you see will begin to change.
Interesting. I was like, this might have been a day or two ago. I was literally objection handling myself. Uh,
Wow. How did that go?
well, it's like, cause like like again, like I'm so interested in discovering more about myself, and um, like I realize there's so many more fears I still have that maybe I haven't discovered yet, and so like one of them, for example, like I was practicing a little bit more with myself was I'm at a point now where I feel like a lot of my growth is going to come from just more repetitions, and not just with
Yeah.
myself, but like um, running more of those with other people who are
Mm.
much better than me at sales, like way better than
Hmm.
me. Um,
Yeah.
and that is I cannot tell you how uncomfortable that is for me. But like when I'm given the opportunity to, like I had a sales meeting last week, and there was just the perfect opportunity for me to interject and ask for a round with someone who would definitely be able to teach me a lot, but just putting myself in a vulnerable state where I clearly am about to perform in front of 50 people on the sales meeting, and and well, of course I'm going to flunk it because I'm here to learn. That is such an uncomfortable feeling for me, and so there was such
Oh
this
yeah.
huge internal tension with myself on on whether or not I should do it, on whether or not I should ask for a round with the sales manager there. And um, after that meeting, that's when I started to just take some time with myself and figure out what the heck is going on. Um, and so that's kind of where I started. I guess you could call it handling myself. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to do it a lot more often.
Handling yourself. You started handling yourself.
Yeah, yeah, something like that. It's
Hopefully our listeners don't take that the wrong way.
no, it's yeah, it was interesting though. There's like it just came down to fear at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and um just like
How did
the
you overcome it?
well, I just came down to binary. If anything, it's like I don't know how I came or funneled myself down to it, but is it like I realized at the end of the day I'm somebody who likes to look like I know what I'm doing. Um, but it's so different being somebody who knows looks like they know what they're doing versus somebody who definitely knows what they're doing.
Hmm.
Um, and I just had to ask myself, do I want to continue being some pretender, or do I want to actually be the
Mm.
person who does know and does does the thing?
Yeah.
And um, that like really hit me, and I just had to ask myself, so what do I actually need to be doing moving forward to be the
Hmm.
to be that person who knows and does? And it's just throwing myself in the field and just going in the fray and just fumbling and continuing to fail more and more and learn from that. So, and not just with myself, but like in front of other people, obviously too. So,
Yeah.
like it was nice doing that, but I know I'm gonna have to do it a lot more with myself. If that can kind of make
Oh yeah.
sense. It's not gonna stick the first time I do it. It's just gonna be a repeat thing. It's like again, it's like you can put a lot of money in it investing into yourself, but that's you're not entitled you're not entitled to the result. You have to put in the
Yeah.
work. And
Oh yeah.
there's so much more. I
Love
feel
that.
like there's so much more um so much more opportunities for fear to hold you back from doing what you need to, even past investing into yourself,
Oh yeah.
you know? And
Oh yeah.
so um it just helps me realize like how hard sales can actually be. And
Yeah.
for that, like that's exactly why we're here. You know, it's for the rewards for the challenges that sales presents. That's exactly
Yeah.
what we're here for, is to accomplish something that not a lot of people out there can do. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I'm starting to realize I need to really check in with myself and realign myself almost every day, it seems, with where
Yeah.
I'm looking to go, because it's so easy for my body to just revert back almost to
Yeah.
to who I was before. Like seek that comfort and not throw
Yeah.
myself into the fray. because I realized
Yeah.
it's like you can't just do that once and be done with things. It's a
Mhm.
way of living, moving forward, continuously doing that. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I've been learning a little bit more about that, about how your body has its own mind, and it's a lot of the things I end up doing. It's just for my body. It's not for like me.
Is this coming from Dr. Joe Dispenza by any chance?
Uh, it's funny that you mentioned that. A little bit of it definitely is coming from there.
Yeah.
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 So I
I caught that. I caught that because the body has its own mind. And that is so freaking powerful, man. That's so
mhm.
true.
Yeah. So it's I'm starting to like be more self-aware of these things I'm doing. And it's like, why am I doing this? What is
Mm,
being satisfied when I do this thing? And I realize more often than not, it's just my body is just so used to these things, and I end up doing it, and I like don't even think twice about it, you know?
yeah.
So and I started to realize that I should try to focus a little bit more on myself as well.
Mm,
Because like I realize that my body's getting is maybe being nourished or whatever, but like my mind really isn't.
yeah.
So, and there's like this that internal conflict again. That's what I felt when I had the opportunity to run a role play with somebody who I knew was definitely going to teach me something that I needed to learn and improve. But I didn't
Hmm.
do it because my body didn't want to throw itself in that scenario. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, gosh, it's I'm being reminded almost on the daily, um, what it really takes to make it in this industry. So.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's powerful, man. That was really inspiring.
So, yeah, I've yet to pick up on Joe Dispenza again. Like, there's so many things you can learn, and
Oh,
like it
yeah.
gets overwhelming. And I realize I have to just put myself in seasons almost of what I want to be focusing on, because I can try
Yeah.
and conglomerate all of these different angles and perspectives. But I feel like it's really easy for it to get overwhelming, and then you're not implementing any of it, and then none of it is even going to be worth your time learning in the first place. So.
And Lord knows I've been through that. I've been through the phases where I would go through Chase Hughes, Dr. Joe, Neville Goddard, all these different things, different angles. And then I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed with knowledge that now I don't even want to act. And then I would go through a phase where I'm just taking action and I'm like, I don't need to learn anything. And then I get cocky. And then I realize I need to start learning again. So I've learned over time how to kind of balance it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn and then I'm going to implement and then learn, implement. So I totally get that, man. I think it's something that nobody's immune to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What are you learning, or what season are you in right now? Would you say, Cameron?
I'm in the aggressive learning phase, man. The learning and implementation, but like multiplied. I'm just multiplying it far beyond what I've ever done in the past. So I'm downloading as much as I can into my brain, and then in order to seal it in, I'm not just going around bragging about how much I know. I'm like, okay, let me get in the fucking trenches and do this shit. Let
Yeah.
me do what I know. Let me fuck up and make mistakes so that way I can go back and reinforce it, and now it's just a part of, after some repetitions, it's a part of me. It's become it layered into who I am. So I think I'm in the aggressive part of that phase where I'm just hyper learning and hyper acting on what I learn.
Hmm. Like, I hear this time and time again, and I don't. Maybe it's because like I'm not somebody who's like maybe in the hot seat for it, but it's like I hear that like teaching other people things, it makes you learn something a little bit more.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What?
There's an old saying, when you teach something, you get to learn it twice. And when you learn something, what's happening, without getting too geeky, what's when you learn something, you're making these new connections. Your neurons are firing in new ways, and you're making new connections in your brain, like actual synapse connections. And then when you teach, you are forcing yourself to take those connections and strengthen. So if I learn something and then I go and teach it, you're just reinforcing those connections twice as strong as they would have been if you had just learned it and then not taught anybody or not reviewed it in any way. So
Yeah.
teaching is one of the most powerful ways that you can reinforce something that you learn. So what I will often do is I will learn I'll get a really profound aha moment, and then I will integrate it into my next coaching session and I will teach it to my clients.
Interesting.
And there's nothing more powerful. There's not a more powerful way to seal that in other than actually doing it and repeating it. So learn, teach, do, or learn, do, teach, whatever order you want to go in. And we could spend another hour picking that syntax apart, but you get the point.
Okay, gotcha,
I think
gotcha.
I saw a graph on that. Like when you just read something, you retain 5%. When you hear something plus read, you retain 10%. But when you teach someone else, you retain 80% of the knowledge.
Yeah,
So
it's the forgetting curve. It's
yeah,
that on average we'll forget most of the material after an hour, and then after 24 hours, pretty much like
yeah,
90% of it's gone, unless there's some kind of a reinforcement or a review of the material. Absolutely.
yeah.
Mm.
So like Cam, I think this is the point where in terms of, you kind of teaching the people and also retaining the knowledge for yourself. Can you maybe go a little bit more in detail? Because I'm sure, there's gonna be people that will be deeply interested, especially, seeing I liked it a lot, just kind of piggyback like 20 minutes ago. You said amazing social skills, and with your hand you're pointing at yourself. I like that. I picked
Yeah.
up on it, but I only picked up on it because I mean just by proxy kind of learn those things from you. So like maybe tell the audience a little bit more, like, what are the projects that you are focusing on, like how you spread what you already know to other people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So right now it is my main project is my own coaching program. It is called CAD, pronounced CAD, and not even my clients are allowed to know what the letters stand for. They only figure it out once they graduate. And so that's kind of
Mm,
like a little hidden Easter egg. I don't it's a mystery, and it's something I keep hidden, and only if you graduate the 24 weeks you find out what it means. There is a little bit of a hidden meaning behind it, but it's a 24-week thing. And it's just me infusing everything I'm passionate about when it comes to influence and persuasion. It's broken up into 3 trimesters of 8 weeks each.
mhm.
First trimester, and let me back up. So the way I approach teaching this stuff is if you think about all of our failures, all failure in life can be traced back to 3 things, and I call it the failure triangle. So on one side of the triangle, you have observation, which means we failed to observe or pick up on something or read the room. The other side of the triangle over here is communication. So we failed to get our point across, we failed to communicate, we failed to persuade. There was something broken in our communication. And then underneath the base of the triangle, the base that holds up the other 2 sides is self-management. So there was something with our behavior, there was something with our authority, with our confidence, there was something about who we were that leaked unconsciously, and it was picked up on by the other person. So we're giving these unconscious signals. So my program is a parallel of that. So first 8 weeks we work on observation, how to read people, body language, that kind of stuff, how to read people. The second, communication, how to move people. How do we take what we read and weaponize it into hyper persuasive things that we can do to move people? And then the last 3 weeks is how do we become those people? How do we become
Yeah.
better? How do we establish confidence, charisma, authority? So it's all sides of the triangle, and you just become a hyper persuasive human being by nature. And so that's what I'm focusing on right now. And so everything I learn, I just keep infusing it into what I teach. But most of what I teach is just a part of who I am and the collective experiences I've acquired over the years.
Yeah.
So I think that was, I guess that was my plug. That was me plugging my thing. But yeah, hopefully that
think
answered the question.
Yeah, no, it did, and I like thank you for that. I think the mark of a great teacher is just the fact that you can see if people are like the people you interact with or interacted with, they pick up on those things. Like they will get a golden nugget from you, and they will start implementing it. Like for example, for me, it was slowing down my nodding to, and it came to an extent. I remember when we watched a call together. I was like those those dog toys in like a car just bouncing up and down.
Bobblehead, yeah.
Yeah, the bobbleheads,
Yeah.
and like being more fluid with how your body moves. It's just like such a small difference, but actually makes you even feel just more confident.
Oh
And
yeah.
this is I think like a common pattern I see, because like obviously you and Christian Jack, you guys go way back, and also Jonathan. One thing you can tell, like with all three of you guys, is like that level of confidence, right? Like that, like you guys can definitely first of all, read the room. You don't have to, hold the frame by saying, something out of the line with, how some of these guys get teach or whatever. Like, this is the question that you have to say, like, oh, not question, this is the sentence you gotta say when someone is not following your frame or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's just natural, right? Like just the
Hmm.
way you speak just helps you maintain that sort of frame in the conversation.
Absolutely. All goes back to who you are. And that's why I will always have a bone to pick with people who teach tonality. And that will always be my mortal enemy, because
Yeah.
tonality is a symptom of being confident, a naturally confident and authoritative person. The tonality will happen automatically as a byproduct of that. But when
Yeah.
you teach people how to squint and how to inflect and how to have pitch and cadence and pause here, that you're just teaching them the effect of a cause that goes ignored. So we have this, I call this cause blindness. We ignore the cause, but we teach and hyperfixate on the effects. And so I believe, like with tonality and the way you speak, that comes from this stuff that takes time to develop,
Yeah.
right? You can't
It's
just
just
put
like
a
a fast
band-aid
shot.
on something.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
People don't want to work hard to become the person that, they'll just take a shortcut, just like how everyone is falling victim to, the crypto coins, the random, the random stocks, all this meme stuff. But like, it's kind of funny, and I don't know if Sam picked up on this as well. When you were saying squinting, you took a certain pose that just kind of reminded me of someone that actually does teach tonality, and I don't know if you did that on purpose or not, but
I think we
it
all
was
know who we're
spot
talking
on.
about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It was
That was
spot on, man.
that was like half on purpose, half accident, but kind of on purpose.
Yeah, I've had some experiences with those guys in the past. Yeah, that's yeah,
Yeah, we that's a different conversation for a different day.
100%.
But I don't know how you guys are on time. I do have to hop off though. So
Yep,
did you guys want to go ahead and wrap up?
Might
Sam,
as
you can go
well.
ahead.
Might as
Yeah.
well. Alrighty. Well, I've never wrapped up an episode before, so bear with me. Um, if anybody here listening stuck out this far, definitely
Of
like,
course they did.
yeah, okay, yeah. For everybody who did, um, highly appreciative of your time, and for whatever you learned, um, yeah. For those that want to be the 5%, you can listen the first time and go off. But if you'd like to be the 80%, feel free to watch again and just share something with somebody else and have that
And
really
teach them.
internalized for you. Um, as for Cameron, again, uh, really appreciate you being here and being a part of this. And yeah, for anybody that's listening up to this point, we'll have something definitely coming out next weekend. I'm actually really excited for what we have planned, and stay tuned. As you know, this is the eighth of at least 21 episodes. Christian Jack has made that
Wow.
challenge for us. We're hitting 21 and becoming. I don't know what percentage of podcasts hit it past 21 installments, but that's going to be us. So,
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
yep,
I
yep.
Love it.
think I think one thing before we go is we're definitely going to have to do a follow-up with everything that you got, because I feel like even though it's been quite some time since we've been on this call, I think there's so much more that we can expand on, just like human psychology and actual experience that people will definitely appreciate. So
Absolutely.
again, thanks from my side, thanks from Sam's side, and thanks from Sean's side as well. who unfortunately hasn't been able to jump together with us on this course, as he's traveling to Ireland. But for the next time, he's going to be there for sure.
Heck yeah.
Cool.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. Glad to be here. And for those of you watching, do what Sam said. Repeat and teach what you learned. Post on your social media, reshare this episode, post your top takeaways, go share with somebody else, reinforce those connections in your brain. And thank you for watching. Thank you guys for having me. And we'll catch you guys next time.